Welcome to Lumos Talks, powered by Blindspot, the weekly show on growth marketing, straight from the people doing the work on the ground at some of the most innovative companies. I'm Seb Weber, I'm the ECD of Blindspot, and today with me is my co-host Hannah, our head of content. Say hi, Hannah.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Let me just tell you a little bit about Blindspot. Blindspot is a tech company online that connects 2.5 million screens to businesses big and small around the world, from spectaculars in Times Square, New York City, all the way to a bus stop in Bulgaria. So check us out at cblindspot.com. I'm very excited about our guest today. Aashish, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you. Can you guess? Our get down here is pretty simple. We just want to know a little bit about how you got started and what your role is now. And yeah, take us from the top. You got a pretty dope background from Meta and TikTok. So I'd love to know how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah. Happy to share. And yeah, it goes back to my undergrad days, I guess. I mean, I wanted to study mechanical engineering when I was out of school, and I got into that. I was like, oh, mechanical engineering, I'm pumped up. And I started working on a shop floor, like an actual factory building watches. So I was like on the floor, like in the design department, but like on the factory shop floor. And a few months of it, and I convinced myself that that's not the future I want for myself. So I was looking at programs that would help me get into some of my strengths back then, just like getting into data and analytics. And this was back in India. So I applied to a bunch of schools in the US. And one school in the US said, okay, you get a scholarship. So I flew from India to Cincinnati, Ohio. And that's where I got my master's. And then I've been working in the New York area for the past 15 years now. Started off building market mix models, so statistical modeling to figure out where you put your marketing money. The first project that I ever did in this line of work was for physicians, so figuring out what kind of promotions you run for physicians, whether sampling is working, how many prescriptions are they giving out for your specific diabetes product. So that was extremely interesting to me. Figuring out how physicians write prescriptions based on marketing. And then got into media. Yeah. Then got into media, working at Publicis. Again, building media mix models for the likes of Comcast, Verizon, all these billion-dollar marketing companies. Figuring out, how much to put on TV, how much goes into print, which was also a thing, back in 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure people still put like decent money in those channels. And yeah, did that for a while. And then I wanted to be a data scientist at Meta. So I applied to be a data scientist at Meta. And then this is definitely a funny story. Someone saw my resume and said, oh, we want this guy on a sales team. And when they called me, I had like no idea what they're talking about. I had zero sales background. I had no idea what selling meant. And they thought, okay, you would do a good job here because we want someone with your skills to sell to data scientists at companies like TripAdvisor and Expedia, which are very data driven in how they run their media. So we want someone speaking that language, which at that moment felt like, oh, okay, let me just get into Meta because it's so hard to get into Meta, and then I'll find my way into data science. So I got in, and then 6 months into that role, I was like, okay, I love what I'm learning here. Because until that point in my career, I was always analytical, data driven. And then I saw the other side of how business works, right? Like the soft skills, the negotiations, the camaraderie between teams, and when you see a sales leader just pumping up their whole team, and then everyone's like, yeah, let's go get that $20 billion revenue next year. So all of that was like new to me and kind of exciting. So I did that for a bit, then got into product marketing. I ran product marketing for measurement products at TikTok. And then as of 9 months ago, I joined Glance, which is an agentic commerce platform. So we are defining this category as we build it. So application of AI in the world of shopping, what does that future look like? So we're trying to, do our part in defining that.
That's awesome. It's funny. You reminded me when you talked about print ads. Hannah's too young to be part of this conversation, but I think you and I are probably around the same age. There was something that's Tyler, one of the CMOs at Nike's biggest agency, I can't remember his name, Tyler something. He once said to me the funniest thing, like 20 years ago. He said, he goes, I know that 50% of my advertising and marketing is working. I just don't know what 50%. Back in the day, before we had metrics and analytics, we would just throw stuff and we would see when it was working, but you couldn't tell me for shit what was actually working. Maybe other than maybe TV ads, because you could kind of correlate the timings that we were running ads. But yeah, it's funny. I haven't thought about this in a long time. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
I've heard that quote like used so many times, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, people use it a lot, and it makes sense, right? Even today, with all the media and measurement that we have, we still like aren't like entirely sure what the exact split is that from each channel. Yes, AI is here, and AI is like helping build models quickly. Even like MMM models are like so easy to build now with AI. Even so, I mean, it's still a lot of art along with the math. Figuring out where exactly your marketing is working and what kind of ROI you're getting from each channel.
Yeah, that's so true. And I saw that you said you describe your job as translating complex technology into impact. So where does that instinct come from?
Yeah, I guess I think that I wouldn't say I had that instinct from the beginning. I was very like blinders on data person. If someone did not understand what I'm saying, it was hard for me to like break it down um, into a way that they would get. But for me, that changed through learning at Meta. So that whole role shaped me in a lot of different ways. Because you're surrounded by sales leaders, veterans who've been selling for a very long time. And they're asking you these really, I would say simple questions back then, about, okay, what does this model do? Like, how do you like, what do you think of this revenue scenarios that we're proposing, and how would you explain that to someone who doesn't like live with data every day? So that's where thinking about the problems from the other person's perspective became a part of my day to day. So I would say I did not have that instinct always. It's something that I've watched from a lot of people around me and developed an instinct for, I guess.
Tell us about a real growth challenge you've had to crack, something without an obvious answer. I'm curious to see how you've had to crack the myth of growth. The myths,
Yeah,
the multiple myths of growth.
Yeah, yeah. I would talk about the growth challenge that we're living through today, and it's a hard one because a lot of this is defining what a category is, what this new category of agentic shopping or agentic commerce is. So the challenge with this particular phase of growth is, one, you got to like convince people that this thing is real, right? Like the agentic commerce is here and it's going to change how we all shop in the future. And from the outside, it seems like, oh my God, it's like pioneering work. It's like, really cool stuff that you're building. So, it's like exciting. And it is, but the moment you realize that you have to explain this thing over and over to people, because you need to enroll people into your plans, and that means you have to repeat what you're trying to build 10, 15, 20 times in a day sometimes. And I'll give you an example of the influencer marketing campaigns that we're running today. So when you want to help other people hear about the story through the creators they follow, for example, and you have to like get that creator on board now and explain to them what you're trying to build. Explaining it in a way that makes sense to them, and then them translating that story for their audiences, and for you to like create a system or a process around that. All of that is like I had not anticipated all of this being such a huge challenge, but now I appreciate the nuances of how critical all of that work is, and how much rigor goes into making something real through voices of multiple people, and then translating these topics or these um, points into things that land differently for different people, right? So different creators have different styles of delivering messages. So how do you
Mm.
process that that brings it home, at the same time, is authentic, and is the voice of the creator?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And it differs. So, for example, when you're launching something entirely new, maybe something AI led discovery, and like, it doesn't exist in people's heads yet. How do you even start marketing those kind of things?
Yeah, great question. And
Mm.
we are figuring it out as we go, right? And I think a big part of this is figuring out who those partners are that you can work with, who those stakeholders are, who see this from the beginning with you. Now, it could be brand
Okay.
partners, it could be partners that we have on the device side. So the way Glance works is it's an app, but we're also built into phones and TVs. So, for example, DirecTV is one of our partners, and we're already live on every DirecTV in the US. So, DirecTV is a streaming provider in the US. And
That's great.
yeah, and the way we enrolled them into our plans is by showing how TV can be a two way communication device. TV has always been, a lean back, sit on your couch, just watch the content type platform. Whereas mobile has like evolved into so much more, from just being able to like pick up your phone and call, to mobile is how you do a lot of your day-to-day tasks today. But with TV it hasn't evolved as much, so we started painting that picture with them to show how the wallpaper on a TV could be a canvas that shows inspiration throughout the day. It could lead to commerce outcomes, if we inspire the users enough, which means there is like a monetization angle that the partner can also see. So it's not just inspiration, but there's eventual revenue opportunity. So figuring out what those paths are and then getting partners enrolled in those plans is what we've found to drive success for us. And similar on the brand side, so figuring out which brands are leaning into AI in the marketplace today, and then getting them on board to say, okay, these are experiences that you can provide to your potential customers, where someone can see the entire website with clothes on them instead of clothes on a model. So those are the type of
Right.
propositions that really excite, some brands. So enrolling those brands into our plans and then working with them, going to market with them, co-marketing with them. Those are the things that we've seen work well for us.
Sweet. How do you like evaluate a
Cool.
growth opportunity today? Like, what's your mental model like? I guess what I want to know is, when do you know something's worth betting on?
Yeah, and a lot of this is borrowed, frameworks, borrowed thinking from our founder. He has always pushed the company to think about 10x plans. So when someone goes to him with a plan on hitting $10 million in revenue, he's always asking that question of why not 100 million in revenue, or why not 100 million consumers? Those type of questions. So evaluating those growth plans are focused quite a bit on scale. So if there is a growth strategy we're pursuing, is this something that has a saturation, in the short
Mm,
term, or is there
right.
a lot of upside that we can actually unblock? And obviously, with a lot of small teams, you need to be scrappy. You need to look at outcomes that have a lot of upside. So that initial filter that you put on different channels to say, okay, with podcasts, that channel is exploding. And we're on a podcast right now. That's why this comes to mind. But that channel is exploding. So if I invest in podcasts as a strategy for this quarter, and if it works, am I able to, I don't know, 2x or 5x my budget next quarter? So given the growth phase that we're in today, so that is one of the most critical things that I'm looking for. Besides that, it's also what has worked and what has not. So based
Yeah.
on what the team knows about different channels, where our strengths lie. For example, I mentioned influencers. We've done decent work with influencers so far, so we know that as a channel is working for us. And the the industry as a whole is also moving a lot more towards creators. So watching industry trends and then combining that with what we know about the market, those are the two levers that help me understand growth channels.
Yeah, I like that. I think that was a really great
Nice.
answer.
Yeah.
I think identifying your like length of runway in terms of like knowing when you've got a moment to try something is super important. Like that's exactly why we started doing podcasts, and actually we've seen a huge uplift in our like mailing list click through rate. Like people are actually interested, and to be honest, we sell digital screens. You know, we are not the and so but I think when you're in somebody like in a position like you or in a position like me, identifying the length of runway that you have to see if this works or not is kind of super important. There's a great book called The Art of the Start, and it talks a lot about being able to come up with these, knowing when to start a marketing initiative, but also knowing when to kill it. Right. And like, and it's just, it's super fascinating. But also I think because of where you're at as well, it makes a lot of sense. That, it's such a consumer facing, product that it's a pretty sure bet that influencers are going to be the thing that pushes this thing through, it's pretty
Yeah.
great. Right. I wish we had that. We were able to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been on global platforms and nimble startups, having been on both sides, what do you think marketers often get wrong about measurement and AI tools?
Yeah, let's start with the measurement part because that's what I've done for a big part of my career. So on the measurement part, this is still a challenge. I used to talk about this a lot when I was at TikTok. Last click measurement is not, and again, I mean, people at TikTok would probably see me on this podcast would be like, dude, this guy is still talking about this. But yeah, it is still true. Because last click measurement and the way that the amount that people rely on attribution in that way. I still talk to a lot of agencies, and people still, rely on it quite a bit. And I would say that is something I hope to see get disrupted pretty soon in a big way. People are leaning into experimentation a lot more, running lift studies to understand which channels are actually working and which are not. All of that is great, but how do you operationalize that? So there's still a lot of challenges with that, with those approaches. And yeah, with newer models, I'm hoping there's like a way to bring together all these different measurement frameworks, like attribution, MMMs, lift studies, in a way that is easier for marketers to understand and make sense of what exists today. So yeah, that's top of mind when it comes to measurement. And when it comes to AI tools, as a growth marketer, obviously like the way things worked 6 months ago or a year ago versus today is like night and day. The amount of automation you can put into your day-to-day life, from competitive research to figuring out what content to make, like sending these agents to go run all these analyses and then drop an email to your inbox with a report for what needs to be done today. Starting from that to collecting leads if you're in B2B growth marketing, to creating content itself. So if you're a solo marketer, how do you just pick up your phone and then put your video into a tool that can automate, jump cuts for you, add subtitles,
Yeah.
B-roll, add all of that, and then
Mhm.
make it look like a really good video within a few minutes. I think all of that, has worked in favor of marketers. Now, have I seen a lot of marketers lean into that? Not yet, especially the ones on smaller teams who are strapped for resources. I would have thought I would see a lot more people like creating their own content, relying on a designer. But that hasn't happened as much. And I'm saying this because I started like dabbling with this for myself, and I started like a new TikTok channel. And so my friends and family wouldn't see me doing all this crazy things. So I started the channel. I was like, okay, let me just shoot content and put it out there and see what happens. And yeah, I mean, I got some traction there, and then I stopped. I should pick it back up though, hopefully next month when I have more time. But it's so easy to make content and refine content, and all of that I think is still heavily underutilized by marketers.
Yeah, that was great. we're at the part of our show where it's rapid fire takeaways as we come to a close. We just need a one word answer from you on these, all right? So one channel you would double down on today.
Influencers.
Interesting. Okay. One metric that actually matters.
I wouldn't call it a metric, but I would, depending on where you are, it's the outcome. So what is that outcome you care about? And you have to like hone in your metric based on that outcome. For our stage, I'm looking at unaided awareness today.
All right. One growth myth you strongly disagree with.
You have to have a very strong media mix. If one channel works for you, I think that is good. I mean, as long as it works for you, it works. You don't have to diversify for the sake of it. Yes, relying on only one channel like Meta is a risk any day. But if a channel works, just maximize as much as you can on that channel.
Okay. One piece of advice for marketers listening.
I think it's the best time to be a marketer. The amount that you can do as a marketer today, I would say like coders are wishing that they could be marketers. So I think this is like the hottest job in the world today, being a marketer, because you have tools that can make you a coder, that can help you build products really quickly. So all your marketing chops now are in high demand, and I would say make the most of it. So you got to hustle in order to stand out and create something meaningful in this world now.
Awesome.
That is dope.
Aashish, this has been brilliant. Thank you for being so generous with your time today. We really appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.